through writing in that class, like I remember having a really conscious recognition of, oh, when I'm told to write about my childhood, I do go to this place of before my mom died, and other people don't have such an early age marker of like childhood ending. And so at the time, I do remember beginning to like really come into consciousness of how massive a shift my life had taken just by moving. My mom was really close to her sisters, and I was raised by one of her sisters, and another aunt had 3 kids who were kind of like, they were cousins, but they were kind of like sisters to me. So I had a close-knit family, and I still do, but they're different from me in a lot of ways. I am kind of the weirdest one, and that was very clear to me. And my cousins sometimes were mean-spirited, sometimes were very sweet, but a lot of what they were trying to do was, even in sweetness, was trying to get me to fit in and like groom me toward a certain image that I shed at that point. And so I think that what started to become clear to me, that was also when I started really questioning my faith and ultimately came away from Christianity. And I think that at the time I remember really wanting there to be a space for much more open conversation. Like my way of first trying to reconcile possibly still feeling this faith, but also that faith telling me that homosexuality is wrong, which I never felt, and like was completely born into an environment where that was not the tone or idea at all in my mom's like social circle. So I remember thinking that the way to do that was to like prove that homosexuality was natural. And so like I had this project for an English class, and my teacher was the head of the Gay Straight Alliance, and the topic that we like picked together for me was theories about what causes homosexuality, which is not at all my approach today. But when I presented that paper, she thought that I did a really beautiful job. I think I got the only 100% on the like speech that we had to give about the material. And this girl who I had a pretty neutral interaction with before that, even before I went up to present the paper, she asked what my topic was, and I told her, and she like literally physically plugged her ears and told me that she couldn't hear about it. She went to like a really, I thought similarly aligned, like non-denominational Christian church, but it was like, I think maybe fundamentalist. I think they spoke in tongues. It was like a pretty kind of cult-like mega church environment in the area. But she told me that she like couldn't, and she closed her ears and like just wanted like physically closed them and wanted nothing, like wouldn't even hear me out on the topic. And then she like wouldn't look at the sheet that I passed out and wouldn't make eye contact, like completely did everything she could to shut out my speech. And at the time I wasn't even speaking, I wasn't even out to myself really. So I was trying to approach this from like hey, let's have a talk that has nothing to do with faith and has everything to do with science and like the fact that a lot of gay, lesbian, bi, trans people exist on the planet, and like we should be approaching them with love. So it was stunning to me, and like a huge wake-up call that I'd never really encountered. But I remember at my church I was on like a leadership committee and asking for these conversations, and it was this like very closed circuit of like, well, you know, the Bible says this, and I was kind of like, show me where, but also like, let's talk through this. And I think I had to do that outside of it being a personal conversation before I could address doing it as something that pertains to me. It's a great question. I'm fairly new to the community of Sonoma County, and a lot of what I want to do is to be investing in community and providing more spaces. For me, it's mostly that I want to be providing like creative, artistic spaces that foster like openness and creativity from queer people in the area. But as far as connecting elders and youth, I guess, I mean, certainly spreading the word and creating events just like this project today. I remember when it came into my mind and I first met Phyllis to talk about it, there was concern that there wouldn't be very many youth, and today there's, I think, more youth than elders here. So I know there's some interest, but I think that these projects really create, something like this oral history project creates a very open channel for communication. I think there can be some fear of misunderstanding between youth and elders, and so, but I think there is like a genuine interest and appreciation among most people once you get into a one-on-one environment. I do think that there can be a falseness around the idea of community. Like, you do have people, I mean, historically and presently, there are people who want like lesbian separatism, and that feels very alienating to people who are otherwise identified under the LGBT umbrella. And I think a lot of trans people feel really left out of conversations, like the letters there, but is it actually represented as a community? Like, not always. And I think I see that a lot less among youth than I do among elders. So I think finding spaces that assert inclusivity and foster it is definitely one of the most important things that I hear among younger people.
I'm Stephen Solomon.
Hi, I'm Roxana Fiyama.
And Nancy Vogel.